saw on X and maybe in the news that there was a little clip of Donald Trump telling the Christians to vote. And if they vote this time, they never have to vote again. And the Dems were saying that was proof that he wasn't, if elected, he'll never leave the White House, that he's going to become a dictator and he'll occupy the White House forever. Did you see that, Jen?
I heard about it.
Well, I thought that we should put this in context because they showed a little clip, but they didn't show the whole clip. So he was speaking at Turning Point USA. And anyway, there was a little bit of video before those words that everybody put out on social media that they neglected to show. So
you know how that feels.
So in the interest of true transparency and to show everybody what really happened, watch the entire clip.
Christians have to vote. I don't want to scold you, but you know that Christians do not vote proportionately. They don't vote like they should. They're not big voters. You know who else aren't voters? The NRA endorsed me very powerfully. Strongest endorsement they can give. National Rifle Association. People that own guns and rifles are not big voters. They have to vote. If you don't vote, we're not going to win the election. If you do vote, we're going to win in a landslide. Too big to rig. We're going to win in a landslide. But Christians, you'll go to church every Sunday, and Pastor Paula White and all of the people, I understand, they're doing lockboxes in churches where people don't even have to go to vote. They can now vote in church. And if you do that, we're going to win by numbers that nobody's ever seen before. You have tremendous power, but you just don't know that. But you have to use that power. Christians are a group that's known not to vote very much. You have to go out, at least this election. Just get us into that beautiful White House. Vote for your congressmen and women. Vote for your senators. We will change this country for the better. This country will be great again like never before. You got to vote. Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
Did he say, I'm not Christian?
I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian. You know how he talks. So there was the rest of the story. He was saying Christians don't vote. So even if you just vote this time, you have a history of not voting, just vote this time. So do you know why a lot of members of the NRA don't vote?
Why?
Because they're suspicious of the government. And that's why a lot of Christians don't vote either, because they believe that the government is blasphemous, it's evil, and so they don't participate in voting. I mean,
they'll send money to the archdiocese.
And to their pastors and to the televangelists, but it's just, voting is very personal, and some people believe that government is so corrupt that they don't want to participate.
Yeah, and that's why you take your dead neighbor's information and you go vote.
Well, the Democrats do. That's exactly.
Two could play at that game, guys.
Don't they say justice is blind? Yes, they say justice is blind, Mom. But sometimes, especially in the case of Donald Trump, justice peaks a little bit and sends notes to their friends, to convict. But we're going to talk a little bit about justice and SCOTUS too. Howard wants to know, are we going to get to the weird nonsense? Yes, we are. We all have to vote bigly. Yes, we do. And in that address, he talks about it. He says it over and over again. I can understand why you don't vote, but if you want to make a change, you have to vote. And even if you just come out with this one time, it's important that you vote. But speaking of Christians, we all saw the Olympics and the opening ceremonies. Did we see? Well, here is a picture of their depiction of the Last Supper using trans. These are all drag queens, except for the woman in the center, who's a lesbian. And they were all on a runway. And because of that, there are hundreds of thousands of Christians in the street of Paris right now protesting that they were blasphemous and they were
They had a nice blackout right after.
they were knocking Christianity. So there were some that were saying, "Oh, it wasn't supposed to be a depiction of the Last Supper. It just so looked like that." And then, of course, the guy who set the whole thing up, who was a choreographer, admitted kind of that it was by saying, "Well, other people have portrayed the Last Supper in different ways, and nobody got up in arms about that." So even though he didn't admit it, he kind of did admit it.
Well, that's not for the Olympics. It's for Art Basel.
No, you would think so. And you know, the interesting thing is in Paris, 63% of people living in France identify themselves as Christian. So why in the world would you do that? I mean, why would you do that? I mean, apologies have been issued and but half-hearted apologies. Well, if we offended anyone, we're sorry that if we offended anyone, it wasn't our intention.
Do you know what I just saw? I watched, because I couldn't find the remote. I was forced to watch a news segment on Gen Z and how important it is that they get out to vote, and that 24% of Gen Z identify as LGBTQ.
Yeah.
Which is, there's nothing wrong with it, but 24% identify.
Highest in history.
Oh, yeah.
Highest number in history. It has gone up exponentially. And if you talk to older gay people who fought for the right to be recognized as human and in a loving relationship and nothing else, they will tell you that the majority, I'm not going to say everyone because everyone's different, but the majority will tell you that this trans movement, especially targeting children, is actually dangerous. They're against it. And also it is harming them. It is now, they're receiving a backlash for it and they don't agree with it. So very, very, very difficult times we live in.